Hello everyone and welcome back to English with Lucy. There are some really common words that I use all the time that my students never seem to know. It always takes me by surprise. So in this video, we're going to look at 12 common words that most of my students don't know. And this means that if you do know these 12 words, you are above average in English. To really cement what you learn in this video, I've created a PDF that contains all 12 words we mention in this video, plus 12 more. So you get 24. There are lots of extra examples and a quiz and a link to a secret exercise pack. If you'd like to download that for free, click on the link in the description or scan that QR code there. Then all you have to do is enter your name and email address and I'll send you the PDF by email. Let's start with number 1. The first word that most of my students don't know is terrific. Terrific. Here it is in a sentence. The film was terrific. Was it scary, really bad, or really good? It was really good. Terrific means very good or wonderful. A lot of my students understandably confuse terrific with terrifying, which means very scary. And in fact, in the past, terrific also meant scary, but the meaning has changed over time. Other students confuse it with terrible, which means really bad. But if something is terrific, it is wonderful. Note the pronunciation. Terrific. T with the schwa. Terrible. Terrifying. Terrific. Let's move on to the next word. If I say, that's a terrific outfit, what am I referring to with the word outfit? An outfit is a set of clothes worn together, often for a special occasion or purpose. For example, I might say, I need a new outfit for my friend's wedding. That means I need a dress, shoes, and a hat. A hat is usually quite important for an English wedding. So, I'm going to buy myself a new outfit, but what's another way to say buy myself using a word starting with T? It is treat. I'm going to treat myself to a new outfit. If you treat yourself or someone else to something, you buy something pleasant or pay for something that you or they will enjoy. An example, you look hungry. Come on, I'll treat you to a burger and fries. We also use treat as a noun, meaning something special and enjoyable. For example, when I was little, having ice cream was a special treat. You'll also hear people say, it's my treat. This means I'll pay. Treat is such a positive word and I'd love it if my students used it more often. Speaking of things that are enjoyable, let's talk about spending time with friends and family. Lots of my students default to the word party for every social event, but sometimes there's a better fit. Let's try gathering. Gathering. A gathering is a meeting of people, and often it's more informal or casual than a party. For example, we had a little gathering for my husband's birthday. Maybe we had a small group of friends over to our house for drinks and nibbles, little things to eat. A party is often something bigger and more celebratory with dancing and so on. But a gathering can also involve a lot of people. For example, we have a big family gathering every year. That's similar to saying, our family gathers together. I also have a bonus word for you. An alternative way to say gathering is get together, a get together. This is an informal meeting or party. For example, we're having a get together tomorrow to say goodbye to Joanna. Okay, let's review the words we've learnt so far. How many of them did you know? How many of them do you actually use? Be honest. Let's look at some more words now. Number 5 is venture. Venture. Which word do you think this might be related to? Adventure. So venture is a noun and a verb. As a noun, it means a new activity that is risky, and it often refers to a business activity. For example, he lost all his money because of a few risky business ventures. As a verb, to venture means to go somewhere or do something that might be dangerous or difficult. For example, we ventured out into the storm to find a taxi. And do you know this common phrase? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. It means if you don't take risks, you won't achieve anything. That's why you have to boldly speak English and not be afraid of making mistakes. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Okay, before you undertake a venture, you have to ask yourself, is it really worth the effort? And that's where our next word comes in. Worthwhile. Worthwhile. If something is worthwhile, it means it's worth the time, effort, or money you put into it. For example, learning English takes time, but it's definitely worthwhile. Or volunteering at my local animal shelter is a really worthwhile experience. I rarely hear my students use this word. It might be because it contains two sounds that they usually try to avoid. The sound and the sound. Worthwhile. A question for you. What is something that you think is worthwhile? Often the things we find worthwhile are also deeply meaningful. And that is our next word. Look at this sentence. After 3 hours of scrolling on social media, I realized I hadn't done anything meaningful with my day. Had you done something useful or not? Right, you hadn't. If something is meaningful, it is useful, important, or serious. Like watching this video. Here's another example. We had a meaningful discussion about the future of the company. Now, if you think something isn't meaningful, you might not want to do it. And in fact, you might be reluctant to do it. And that is number 8. Reluctant. Reluctant. Notice the schwa in the final syllable. Reluctant. It means unwilling to do something and therefore hesitant to do it. For example, some of my students are reluctant to speak English because they're afraid of making mistakes. Please don't let this be you. Or, my dog was reluctant to get in the car because he knew he was going to the vet. Do you know and use those words? If you said yes, I'm very impressed. But stick around because I am almost certain that you don't know number 12. But let's start with number 9. And this one is tricky to pronounce. How do you say this word? Well, in British English, it's usually pursuit. Pursuit with a y sound between the S and U. Suit. But in North American English, it's often pursuit with no y sound. Now, whether it's pursuit or pursuit, most of my students don't use this word very much. So what does it mean? Well, it has a few meanings, but you might know it from the film The Pursuit of Happiness. And in this case, pursuit refers to the act of looking for or trying to achieve something. And by the way, happiness is spelt with a Y in the film title. It's not a mistake. It's not a mistake in this video. Normally, happiness is spelt with an I. Here's another example with pursuit. Sometimes people move to another country in pursuit of better opportunities. I've put some more meanings of this word and example sentences in the PDF that goes with this lesson. Remember, the link for that is in the description box, or you can scan the QR code there. Okay, let's be honest. Being in pursuit of a goal isn't always easy, and that brings me to my next word. What does regardless mean in this sentence? Everyone told me my plan wouldn't work, but I carried on regardless. Did I pay attention to them, or did I do it anyway? Yes, I did it anyway. If you do something regardless, You do it despite any doubts or setbacks. You pay no attention to the problems. Carry on regardless is a common collocation. Here's another example with this word. The forecast was for torrential rain, but they went ahead with the outdoor wedding regardless. I'm going to give you a clue for number 11. It's a word that can replace clue in that sentence. It starts with H. It is hint. A hint is something you say or do to suggest something to someone indirectly. We often use the collocation to drop a hint. For example, my mum's been dropping hints about what she wants for her birthday. She hasn't told me directly, but she's told me several times that she lost her favourite watch a few months ago. We can also use hint as a verb. For example, what are you hinting at? What are you suggesting? Okay, we have reached the final word in the video. If you have made it this far, that is no small feat. Lucy, what are you doing talking about feet? I'm not talking about those feet, although it is pronounced the same. Feat, F-E-A-T, is our final word, and it means an impressive achievement, usually requiring skill or strength. This is a word you'll hear often, though you may not use it in everyday conversation. Here are a couple of examples. The world's longest suspension bridge is a remarkable feat of engineering. Or, not checking your phone for a whole hour is quite a feat. How many of these 12 words did you know and use frequently? Which ones are you going to start using? Let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to know. And if you knew all 12, that is such an impressive feat. If you want to learn 12 more, make sure you download that PDF. It's in the description box, or there's the QR code there. I really hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you learned something. I will see you soon in another lesson. Mwah.